2 years ago. Let's begin at the beginning, and as you see that I say in the beginning was dance. And you might say in the beginning was dance. What do I mean by that? Dance. And dance originating knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And in the beginning was dance in Plato, the most rational and the abstract and analytical of all philosophers. A philosopher who says that wisdom is logos, is a speech, is rationality. It's the same philosopher who sends the flute player out of the banquet when the speeches on love are about to begin. Socrates says that there are two reasons why musica, which is the realm of song and dance, is so important. Firstly, because rhythm and harmony penetrate more deeply into the inner soul than anything else. He continues later, and he says that they make a person graceful. And when rationality does make its appearance sometime later, won't the person who has been brought up in this way recognize it because of its familiarity and be particularly delighted by it? So here Plato is saying that an education in dance and the rhythmical arts, musica, ennobles the soul and builds good character, but significantly, rhythm and dance renders the human being rational, wise, and enables understanding. The harmony of the cosmic dance becomes the original choreography, and observing it gives an understanding and knowing of harmony and ratio to human beings. Rationality, or the possibility of thinking at all, emerges from watching the dance of the heavenly bodies. Through its mimesis, dancing human beings become rational. So in the beginning was dance, and then logos, and then rationality. Diotima says that in creating and in erotics, you experience immortality, you become godlike because you experience eternity. Time actually disappears in creation. You become godlike because in the moments when you're in love, you want to be in love forever. You want to possess your beloved forever. And at the same time that you have the desire, you actually get a glimpse of it at the same time. Time does disappear, and you're moved into the realm of the divine. So, the question remains still the same. This is what I will leave you with, and then we can come back to it. Having said that, if love is painful because it is needy, because it is wanting things you do not have, because it is acknowledging that you will lose the things that you love because you're mortal, what is it good for? Why bother if it's so painful, right? And is it really true what Phaedrus says, that it is better to be the lover rather than the beloved?
Nietzsche, he was a philologist, he was trained in classical languages, notably Greek, and then turned to philosophy. He was also a composer and a poet, and he loved to dance privately. What kind of dance does Plato leave out? I would say it's the kind of dance that you practice when you go out on Friday night or Saturday night. It's the kind of dance where you let your hair down, where you don't do ballet necessarily, but you do something else. It's a dance that, in Nietzsche's parlance, is inspired by the god Dionysus. So he talks about the Dionysiac barbarians. Here's Dionysus. Are you familiar with him? Yes. He's the god of wine and revelry. He's the god of the earth. I put down a list of his qualities that Nietzsche brings out in this text. So he has to do with nature and the wilderness. He stands for intoxicated reality. This is not what happens when the Dionysian drive manifests itself amongst the Greeks, according to Nietzsche. This is what happens amongst barbarians. The Greeks have another influence, good for them, and that is the influence of the god Apollo. Do you know what he stands for?
Archery.
Archery? Good.
Yeah, and the sun. No?
The sun, yes.
Yeah.
Good. He's
And
the sun
reason.
god. What?
Reason.
He's the god of reason, the god of intellect, so sunlight representing enlightenment and all those things. So if you want to juxtapose the two, where Dionysus is the god of intoxicated reality, this is all Nietzsche, right? Apollo is the god of art, of a dream world, of the world of appearance and illusion, right? But it's a beautified world. So when Dionysus meets Apollo, this terrible excess gets mitigated and reconciled. We tend to think of them as irreconcilable, right? You party from, when is it, Thursday night? It's tonight. It starts tonight.
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, you wind down Sunday morning in the wee hours, right? And then another side takes over, that's Apollo, as you buckle down to do your homework and get ready for classes on Monday morning. So those two sides aren't necessarily balanced in your existence. For Nietzsche, they need to be reconciled in order to produce greatness. The greatness that the Greeks produced in their gods, right? In the Olympians, because he finds that the Olympian gods are neither titanic, and you all know what he's talking about because you read Percy Jackson, right? Titans. The Olympians are neither titans nor are they ascetics like Christians or Buddhists might be, right? So the Greeks find the golden path in the middle. The way the Dionysian and Apollonian reconciliation manifests itself at its most glorious is in Greek tragedy, right? Where you have those two tendencies living side by side.
My name is Courtney, in case you needed to hear it again. I'm a junior at NYU. I'm at Tisch Dance. Believe it or not, Tisch is not just a film school. So 2 years ago, I was pretty much where you guys are. I was a freshman, a month into my college career. I was in the Liberal Studies core program. Not here, I was in London. And I pretty much went into my freshman year with roughly zero knowledge of Greek philosophy or almost any of the cultures that I studied in social and cultural in my first semester, which, needless to say, was a bit intimidating, but I was very fortunate to have Professor Yusufzada for my Cultural Foundations 1 and 2 class, who, the second that she found out that I was trained in classical ballet, was immediately telling me, oh, use that. Think about this from a dancer's perspective. Think about it from your perspective as someone who is well trained as a mover. And for me, it was completely unexpected. I didn't know that I would get to college and someone would be telling me that my experience in the studio was something that could help me learn Greek philosophy. Come to find out, it actually helped a lot. So it gave me a way to dig into the readings on my own terms. Some of what I read and applied, you guys have already gotten to. Some of it you're going to get to later. But what I found was that not only were my academics informed by my knowledge of the studio, but I would go into the studio and notice that when I was told, oh, just make it beautiful, well, aren't we talking about Eros? If I was seeing a movement I had never seen before and I was just imitating it and trying to figure out what it was, wasn't it Mimesis? And the moment I got it, wasn't that Poiesis when I had it in my own body? So both ended up informing the other, and now that I'm at Tisch Dance, where I spend a lot of time dancing every single day, I've realized that everything that I was questioning and learning about my freshman year in liberal studies absolutely has transferred. I'm taking ballet every morning. 15 minutes later, I'm taking modern class. And I think if there was ever a way to find a bridge between the Apollonian and Dionysian perspectives on dance and movement, that is probably it. And my thoughts on the relationship between Eros, Mimesis, and Poiesis, I could talk for hours about it. You should probably just go read the blog that's on the website because it's much more succinct than I will be right now. But essentially, my theory is that we see something beautiful, we desire to have it or be it, that's Eros, we imitate it, Mimesis, and once we have it in our bodies and understand it for ourselves, that's Poiesis. And very simply, learning a dance move is all three of those. It's a process of embodied cognition. It's a process of learning. But I also believe that these ideas go beyond just dance. It goes with how we live our lives. We are all just bodies that are moving, whether you think of yourself that way or not. I have friends who say, oh, I've never danced. But, we're all bodies that move. We all experience space in the world through our bodies. And I think that there are things that we know physically that we can't quite articulate with words. And that's where this whole idea of embodied cognition and using dance to learn comes into play. So that was mostly why I was so excited to be collaborating on this project, because it's really reinforced those ideas for me. And later we're going to be doing some moving, which will be really fun. Thank you, guys.
The first person walks the way that you normally do. After observing for a few moments, try to imitate your partner's walk, first with them and then on your own. You're going to get into groups of 4 or 5. The demonstrator will show the move, which the move will be a favorite dance move that you have, but without any vocal explanation of how to do what you're doing. The observers will try to imitate it afterwards. The point is for the demonstrator to think about where did the person learn this dance, and what was really the process of making it their own and demonstrating it.